Hey there, and a super warm welcome. We are genuinely excited you decided to tune in for this deep dive.
Great to be diving in.
Today we're diving headfirst into a topic that, well, so many of you have asked about. Making real, noticeable progress towards speaking English fluently. And doing it in just 30 days.
It's a fantastic goal, yeah. And what's really energizing is how achievable significant improvements can be, in that time frame, if you have the right approach.
Absolutely. Now, I could almost hear some of you thinking, fluent in 30 days. Come on.
Great.
And you're right to be a little skeptical if we're talking about sounding like a native speaker overnight. That's definitely not what we're aiming for here.
Exactly. Think of this not as a sprint to perfect fluency, but more like a focused burst of effort to ignite real momentum.
Uh-huh.
Our mission is really to help you build genuine confidence and reach a level of, let's call it practical fluency, enough to communicate effectively in your daily life.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Why is making progress in English fluency something that can, really make a difference right now? What makes it so important today?
Well, just consider the way our world is evolving. I mean, we're more connected than ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And English has truly become the common language in so many crucial areas. Think about applying for jobs maybe with international companies.
Yeah.
English is very often a prerequisite. Or if you dream of studying abroad, the vast majority of programs, they're in English.
Right.
Even something as simple as connecting with people online from different countries often relies on English as the bridge,
It's everywhere you look, isn't it?
Yeah.
The internet, for better or worse, is largely built on English.
That's true.
International business negotiations, scientific research, even just keeping up with global news often requires understanding English.
Yeah, and pop culture too.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Let's not forget the sheer amount of pop culture.
Yeah.
Your favorite music, movies, TV shows, so much originates in English.
Precisely. So let me ask you directly, you listening right now, what's the spark? What's driving you to improve your English? Does it maybe unlocking better career opportunities?
Like travel.
Yeah. Is it the desire to explore the world more confidently, connect with a wider range of people? Or perhaps it's simply about boosting your personal confidence in, everyday interactions.
Those are the core reasons we hear, definitely. And here's where it gets really interesting. A crucial insight right from the start is this. Your ability to be understood clearly. That's far more valuable than striving for some flawless, unattainable ideal of perfection.
That's such a critical mindset shift. It really is. Often the fear of making grammatical errors or maybe mispronouncing a word can completely freeze people up.
Mm-hmm.
But effective communication, it isn't about perfection. It's about successfully conveying your message. And that doesn't require knowing every single word in the dictionary.
So, okay, you're feeling motivated. You understand why this matters. But where do you even begin this 30-day journey? How do you kick things off?
It all starts with understanding where you are right now. Think of it like this. If you're planning a road trip, the very first thing you need is your current location, right? Before you can map out your route.
Right. Makes sense.
Self-assessment is that crucial first step in your language learning journey.
Okay, so how do we actually do that? The self-assessment, in a practical way.
Okay, let's break it down into 4 fundamental language skills. Your ability to listen, to read, to write, and to speak.
The big 4.
Exactly. So, for listening, ask yourself, how well can I understand English when someone is speaking at a natural sort of normal speed?
Mm-hmm.
For reading, can I comfortably understand the main points of, say, a news article or a blog post? When it comes to writing, how confident am I in composing short messages or emails? Pretty basic stuff.
Okay.
And perhaps most importantly for fluency, how confidently and clearly can I express my thoughts and ideas verbally in English?
Got it. It's about taking an honest snapshot of our current abilities across these key areas.
Exactly. What I recommend is creating a simple chart. You can do it mentally or actually write it down. List those 4 skills: listening, speaking, reading, writing.
Okay.
Then just take a moment. Reflect on each one and give yourself a score from 1 to 10, where 1 means you find it very challenging and 10 means you feel pretty proficient.
And be honest.
Yes, be honest with yourself. This is just for you. No one else needs to see it.
That makes perfect sense. A clear, maybe visual way to see where our strengths and weaknesses lie.
And remember, this self-evaluation, it isn't about judging yourself at all.
Right.
It's purely informational. It helps you tailor your learning efforts. For instance, if you discover that your reading comprehension is relatively strong, maybe an 8,
Okay.
but you struggle more with speaking and understanding spoken English, maybe those are like a 3 or 4, that immediately tells you where you should focus the majority of your energy during these 30 days.
Focus on the lower numbers.
Pretty much. These scores, they just represent your personal starting line for this journey.
Okay, so we have a clearer picture of where we are. Now, what's the driving force? What's going to help us make real progress? What's the engine that fuels this 30-day push?
Okay, the most powerful engine in language learning is consistency. Simple as that.
Consistency.
It's about engaging with the language regularly, even if it's just for short periods each day. Think of it like tending a plant small, consistent watering and sunlight will yield far better results than, occasional intense bursts of attention.
Consistency over complexity.
Yeah.
I like that. So how can we practically weave English into our daily routines without feeling, totally overwhelmed?
Our brains have this incredible capacity, really, to adapt to new languages when they're exposed regularly.
Mm-hmm.
So find simple, enjoyable ways to immerse yourself in English each day. This could be as easy as watching short, captivating videos on YouTube.
Yeah, lots of those.
Or listening to English language podcasts while you're commuting or exercising.
Uh-huh.
Or even just listening to your favorite English songs and actively following along with the lyrics.
That sounds much more manageable than, sitting down for hours with a grammar book.
Exactly.
Do you have any specific recommendations for where beginners might want to start? Something less intimidating?
Absolutely. If you're relatively new to learning English, children's television shows can be surprisingly effective.
Really? Like cartoons?
Yeah. The language used is typically very clear, the pace of speech is slower, and the context is often visual, which really aids understanding.
Okay.
Similarly, there are numerous podcasts specifically designed for English language learners that feature slower speech and simplified vocabulary. Check those out.
Good starting points.
Then, as you become more comfortable, you can gradually move on to more challenging content like movies, TV series aimed at a general audience, interviews with native speakers, things like that.
You mentioned the difference between passive and active listening earlier. Could you elaborate on that? Why is active listening so much more beneficial?
Certainly. Passive listening is essentially just having English sounds in the background while you're focused on something else, maybe cooking or driving.
Right, just background noise.
Yeah. While it does provide some level of exposure to the rhythm and intonation of the language, active listening is a much more focused, engaged process.
Okay, how so?
It involves consciously paying attention to the content, making an effort to understand the meaning, maybe pausing the audio to repeat phrases you hear, trying to mimic the speaker's pronunciation, maybe jotting down any new words you encounter, and actively trying to grasp the speaker's overall message.
So it's more interactive, even if you're just listening.
Exactly. Think of it this way. Passive listening is like standing in the rain. You might get a little wet.
Yeah.
Active listening is like taking a shower. You're intentionally immersing yourself and getting thoroughly clean.
That's a really clear analogy. So it's about intentionally engaging with the language, not just letting it wash over us.
Precisely. It's about actively working to decode and absorb the language, which leads to much faster and deeper learning.
Now, as we're actively engaging with all this English, what specific things should we be paying attention to, especially to build our own speaking abilities?
Well, it's natural to assume that speaking fluently requires this huge vocabulary of advanced words, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But the reality is, effective communication often boils down to using simple, common words correctly and confidently.
Okay.
I highly recommend starting by focusing on understanding and actively using, say, the 100 or so most frequently used words and phrases in English. Really get to grips with how they're used in different contexts.
Master the basics first.
Yes, and practice incorporating them into your own speech. Build that foundation.
So we're building our communication skills on a strong, practical foundation. Where can people find reliable resources for learning these fundamental words and phrases?
Thankfully, there are many excellent language learning apps out there. Things like Duolingo, Memrise, Quizlet. They offer interactive exercises to help you acquire basic vocabulary in a fun, engaging way.
Okay, apps are good. What about grammar?
Right. Don't underestimate the importance of understanding basic grammar, but try to approach it in a way that feels accessible, not intimidating. Websites like Grammarly, English Page, or the BBC Learning English site provide clear explanations and practical exercises. They help you grasp fundamental sentence structures.
And you also suggested keeping an English notebook. What's the benefit of that? Seems a bit old school.
Yes, but it's a surprisingly powerful tool for Personalizing your learning. Make it a daily habit. Maybe just write down 5 new words or phrases that you come across during your listening or reading.
5 a day.
Yeah, manageable. For each entry, write a simple sentence using that word or phrase in a way that's relevant to you. Then, and this is important, speak that sentence aloud.
Connecting writing and speaking.
Exactly. And then just review your notebook briefly at the end of each week. Over time, this becomes your own personalized English dictionary filled with vocabulary that's directly relevant to your interests and learning needs.
I really like that idea. A tangible record of your progress and a personalized vocabulary resource. Okay, now, we've talked about listening, reading, building vocabulary. Let's tackle the aspect that often feels like the biggest hurdle for learners, actually speaking with confidence.
Absolutely. Speaking is truly the engine of fluency. You can possess a vast vocabulary and a solid understanding of grammar, but if you don't actively practice speaking, well, achieving fluency will remain a challenge.
It's the doing part.
It is, and it's completely normal to feel a bit apprehensive, maybe hesitant, but there are very effective and practical strategies you can use to overcome this.
Okay, what are some of those actionable strategies? Things listeners can start using right away.
One method that many find surprisingly helpful is simply talking to yourself in English.
Talking to yourself.
Yeah, it might feel a little odd at first, sure, but it's a fantastic low-pressure way to practice forming sentences and becoming more comfortable with the sounds and rhythms of the language.
What would you talk about?
Anything. Describe what you're doing, what you're planning for the day, what you're thinking about. Just narrate your life a bit in English.
That definitely lowers the stakes. No one's listening. What other techniques can help build speaking confidence?
Well, joining conversation clubs is great. Whether they meet online or, in person in your community, they provide invaluable opportunities to practice speaking in a supportive environment with other learners.
Mm-hmm. Safety in numbers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There are also numerous online English language forums where you can participate in written discussions first, which can build confidence before you start speaking live.
Yeah.
And definitely consider exploring language exchange applications like HelloTalk, Tandem, or Speaky. These platforms connect you with native English speakers who are often learning your native language. It creates a mutually beneficial partnership.
Like a language buddy system.
Precisely. You help them, they help you.
Those sound like great ways to connect with others and get practical speaking experience. What about solo practice techniques beyond just talking to ourselves?
Yes. Try making short audio recordings of yourself. Speak on a particular topic for maybe a minute or 2 each day. Don't focus on being perfect. Just speak as naturally as you can.
Okay, record myself.
Then listen back to your recording. It might feel a little uncomfortable at first hearing your own voice.
Definitely cringeworthy sometimes.
Maybe. But it's an incredibly effective way to identify areas where you can improve your pronunciation, your pacing, your overall fluency. You become your own coach in a way.
That's a brave, but undoubtedly insightful idea. And what about the common fear? The fear of making mistakes when speaking. How can we overcome that?
It's so crucial to reframe your perspective on mistakes. Instead of viewing them as failures, see them as essential stepping stones on your journey to fluency.
Okay.
Every mistake you make is genuinely an opportunity to learn and improve. Remember, even native English speakers occasionally make grammatical errors or mispronounce words. It happens.
That's true.
The focus should always be on progress and clear communication, not on achieving some unrealistic ideal of flawlessness.
That's really encouraging. Takes some of the pressure off, doesn't it?
It should.
And you had some specific advice for listeners who want to improve their pronunciation.
Yes, for pronunciation practice, websites like Youglish and Forvo are incredibly valuable resources.
Youglish and Forvo, got it.
They allow you to hear how specific words and phrases are actually spoken by native speakers in a variety of real-world contexts, like YouTube videos.
Oh, interesting.
Listen very carefully to the way different sounds are produced. Pay attention to the movement of the mouth and tongue if there are videos. Then repeat the word or phrase yourself. Focus on matching the pronunciation as closely as possible until it sounds accurate to your ear.
So listen and mimic.
Yeah, consistent repetition is absolutely key here. It trains your mouth muscles.
So it's a combination then. Actively listening to native speakers, consciously mimicking their sounds, and critically not letting the fear of errors hold us back from actually practicing.
Precisely. The core principle throughout this 30-day challenge is consistent effort and a focus on continuous improvement rather than striving for, unattainable immediate perfection.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of practical advice. This is great. How can we consolidate all of this into a structured plan? Something people can follow for the next 30 days.
Right, let's structure it. Think of this as your clear, actionable 30-day challenge roadmap.
Okay, lay it out for us.
For the first 10 days, days 1 to 10, your primary emphasis should be on expanding your vocabulary through focused study, like using those apps in your notebook, and really active listening to English content.
Days 110, vocab and listening, got it.
Then, from day 11 through day 20, begin actively incorporating regular speaking practice into your daily routine, alongside your vocab building and listening, of course.
So add speaking in the middle stretch.
Yes. And during this middle phase, also start exploring some fundamental grammar concepts just to solidify your sentence structure. Use those websites we mentioned.
Days 11-20. Add speaking and basic grammar.
Okay. Finally, for the last 10 days, day 21 to day 30, make a conscious effort to engage in daily conversations in English. Even if they're brief exchanges with yourself, language partners, or in online communities, make speaking a daily habit.
Days 21-30. Daily conversations, that's a really clear and phased approach. It feels less daunting broken down like that.
Good. The most important element, truly, is to create a realistic daily or weekly schedule that you can consistently stick to throughout these 30 days. Consistency again.
Right.
Remember, the goal isn't to magically become a native English speaker in 1 month. That's unrealistic. But if you follow this, you will have significantly enhanced your fluency, built noticeable confidence in your ability to communicate, and established a solid foundation for continued growth in your English language journey.
That sounds like a truly fantastic and achievable outcome. Thank you so much for breaking down this 30-day plan for us. Really helpful.
My pleasure. It's all about consistent, focused effort. You can definitely do it.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this deep dive into making real progress in English fluency. If you found this information valuable and maybe encouraging, please do share it with anyone else you know who is also on their English language learning adventure.
Yeah, spread the word.
You can also follow us for more practical language learning tips, helpful tools, and ongoing inspiration. Until our next deep dive, keep learning, keep speaking, and most importantly, keep believing in your ability to succeed.
Keep at it.
Bye for now.